Hello, this is Lisa Russick with the podcast We Are All Psychic, and guess who is back today? Yes. Don't look if you're watching. It is a video on Spotify and YouTube. Have you guessed? It is Sunshine. It is Sunshine with a new haircut. Hi, Sunshine. How you doing?
Hi, Lisa. I am doing fabulous, and I'm so excited to be back.
I'm so excited you're back. We tried to do this podcast and it didn't work out, so we're doing it today. And I do have to ask you again for the second time. She hasn't been here in a couple of years, guys. She was here one other time, and she did say yes to the question. And what is it? We'll have to ask you again. Do you think we're all psychic?
Lisa, I think every single person that walks this planet has the ability to tap into their psychic gifts if they choose to do so. Absolutely 100%. Yeah.
I think so too. And just kind of weird. It's just popped into my head. A lot of people say that if they want to, if they feel like it. Like, what makes people choose to do it, do you think? Why? I mean, I did. I chose to do it personally because I was curious. And it wasn't like I wanted to know the future. That was the reason, or I wanted to divinate. But that's kind of where I went, mostly. I don't know. What do you think makes people choose to go after it, look into it?
The question that pops into my head is, what makes them not choose? Like, why would people not want to engage? And I think that there's a handful of reasons there that's probably easier for people to understand, right?
It is,
You've got a lot of...
Or both. Really, we can go through both. Because there's a lot of
religious upbringing, right? You know, there are a lot of religious practices that will condone, chastise, look down on, fortune tellers, so to speak. And there are laws around fortune telling in certain places.
I had to get liability insurance in Tennessee. I did this year. Isn't that great?
Yeah. So you've got this whole, all of these hundreds, thousands, millions of people that potentially choose not to do it because there's just a cultural belief that it can be used to be like a shyster, that it's false, that it's fake, that it's dangerous. So I think
there's a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's going to corrupt your child if you're a parent. A lot of people think that in the South. But where I come from, we're at there, not Nashville, the city, but like the smaller towns in Alabama and Tennessee and Georgia.
They're going to equate, if you are a psychic or anything, they're going to equate. I mean, I would say 9 out of 10 times they're going to jump you right over into the camp of you're a witch. Right.
So it's a bad religious connotation for most part.
Yeah.
Social religious.
Yeah. So I think that's a really, really big reason why people don't choose to. And the second one, they don't choose to engage in any of these psychic gifts is because they don't want to, recognize. It's just like some of it's ignorance. I think they just don't want to recognize that, the push to doing something, that the feeling that it is a psychic gift, right?
Yeah.
So they're not choosing it because they just don't want to acknowledge that their intuition exists, right?
Okay, Sunshine, I'm going to throw a question at you. I'm throwing this at you. You ready? Now, what does the picture do? He is like,
I think
here it comes.
Yeah.
Why are people ignorant?
Well,
and by that, listeners, I don't mean ignorant like you're stupid, like ignorant. And why don't people open their minds? Why don't they want to see all angles? And it's not like, let's see all angles of murder. I'm not asking something that crazy, No. Like the X-Files asked us in one of their movies. They asked us to pity for a pedophile, and it's like, no, it's not working, X-Files, for me.
No, it's reminding me.
I like X-Files, but it didn't work for me. But
I was writing today, and I had this picture show up in my head around. I had to step off this hamster wheel of life. And I think that ignorance becomes we grow up in a culture that just doesn't embrace. There are some cultures that actually embrace these beautiful gifts, right?
Yes, there's a lot of them in the
cultures that do.
Side of the planet.
But we haven't. Right.
No,
and so we
not
are taught that we need to go to school, that we need to get good grades, that we need to graduate from high school, that we need to go to college, that we need to pick a good career, that we need to, like, we're taught all of these things, these, like, this checklist of life objectives to reach.
Yeah.
And not a single one of them is engage your spiritual gifts.
I was just thinking that, or anything spiritual, not a single spiritual thing on there.
No.
You know?
No.
And if there is one on there, it's praise God. I mean, God probably was. I don't know God's will. I'm saying that, but I mean, praising God. I mean, wouldn't the God want us to do a lot more than that? As like, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of them is just pray to him, praise him. It's not ask God for help. It's just like praise him. You know, or give him money or something. Give people who worship him money, and you know.
I think that's why a lot of folks remain ignorant, is just because they're on this hamster wheel of success and achievement that has been defined to them through, you know, society, generations, you know, many, you know, hundreds of years, this American dream, so to speak, and that just doesn't include this spiritual component.
No. It's weird because In God We Trust is on the dollar bill. It's on my license plate, but not maybe for the same reason as a lot of other people. But it might be.
Well,
it might be. It's just.
The weird thing to me is when we think about, like, we are, you know, America was actually founded on spiritual beliefs, right? Like, that's the whole reason why it was actually created. And there was, you know, if you go and you look into any of the, conspiracy type stuff, the Illuminati, the Free, all of these folks, they existed, but it was kept like secret and, you know, kind of behind a closed door. And there are a lot of people that'll tell you the reason why it's for, you know, control in order to achieve like capitalistic goals. Yeah. Right. You know, if we can keep folks working and producing, then we can make more money.
Yes.
Right. Yes. So folks that are woke, that are spiritual, are more difficult to control.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's such a weird term, isn't it? Woke, or wake up and woke and all that. Somebody on the podcast called it a remembering, and I like that. I don't know those words, but people who are like into their spirituality in the East and Western culture in the United States, I mean, it's getting bigger though, and people are more prevalent. You know, there's more people doing it. There's more younger people getting interested, which is just fabulous. And you're right. The big question is, why wouldn't people, when it's such a bigger in your face kind of thing now, whereas like when we're up and coming in the 90s and stuff, it really wasn't a big known thing. You know, it's not something people talked about.
And good luck finding resources. You had to go into a special store that you had to hope you would come across, that you might like, you know, have in your town or in a nearby town in order. Nowadays, you can't pull up Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. You can't pull up any social media platform without having some access to it, let alone if you were to actually just do a Google search and search for, you know, metaphysical topics. What is the universal laws?
You just put something in my brain that I had never thought of. How did I find out about that stuff in 1987? It was from these Time Life books that my mom got me. I still have them. And my friend Joni, who has been on the podcast. And I remember during her podcast, her answer to the question was, I don't know. I think she said, I don't know. She didn't know. She didn't have an answer. She didn't know if it was, we were all psychic, or if we weren't all psychic. She just said, I don't know. And she's a Catholic school friend. And 7th through 8th, 9th grade, you know, we knew each other really well. And then through college, we played music together. We went to different schools, but we both played a guitar. She played piano, and she was a music minor. Went very different ways with our lives, but stayed friends. You know, like she has 5 children. I bore none. You know, I bore nobody, not 5, that's for sure. And we've stayed the same pretty much with each other. It's really weird, but when we're apart, we're just our grown-up selves with other people, how we are with them. Get us together and we act like we're 7th graders again, you know. But she taught me about chakras, and she taught me what I was like, what is a chakra? Wait, say it again, say it again, say it again. Chakra. You know, I couldn't say it even, you know, stuff like that. And she would teach it to me, and she taught me basic meditation. In one of those books, I read about out-of-body experiences or astral projection, but now they called it out-of-body experiences then. So we'd be like, we're going to OBE. We shortened it to OBE, OBE. And we'd make a plan. We're going to go OBE and meet somewhere at this certain time at midnight and at the mall or something. And we're going to just do it. She taught me meditation. So I would lay there in bed every night trying to meditate to get out of my body and go to the mall. You know, so I mean, I didn't know I was meditating. You know, I just thought I was trying really hard to OBE.
But
how does that happen to us? How does it find us then?
This goes back to
really good question.
Somebody said remembering, and that's a lot of what I believe that it is many of us have had these gifts, use these gifts, practice these gifts, maybe even become expert in these gifts for lifetimes.
Yeah.
Right. So I've spent a lot of time actually exploring what you're asking right now. How did I learn about this? And I've gone back and looked and explored in my childhood. A couple of years ago, I engaged with a couple of friends, trusted friends, and I had them do kind of like past life regressions with me. They would help me. I would put myself into a meditative state. We were on Zoom together. I'd put myself into a meditative state, and they would have a series of, it was like 2 hours worth of questions that they would ask me. And I would go in and I channeled different age ranges in my life, you know, from like 0 to 6 years old, 6 to 12. And it was more than one time in that instance that I recalled seeing my older self.
You were there.
And it was in those sessions. It was me. It was no. I
believe you. You saw yourself.
Yes, it was me coming back during these past life regressions and talking to the younger version of myself.
And you remembered it happening then.
And that's where I learned and taught myself a couple of these things, like how to be able to meditate. I taught myself the old version of me
taught
the younger version of me how to do that.
That is truly cool as shit.
It was wild. It was wild. And I have
never heard that ever. That is so great.
All of these are recorded.
Oh my gosh. This is epic.
At some point I will turn it all into a book. I'd call it the Book of Jen.
The Book of Jen. I love it. Her other name is Jen.
Yeah,
her accepted name.
my birth given name, my birth certificate name is Jennifer. But yeah, I've jokingly referred to it as the Book of Jen, like my gospel. And,
I love that.
Talk about my whole. But yeah, I think many of us learn how to do these things throughout. And it's interesting that you call out that your friend is. Like a devout Catholic, because one of the things
very spiritual. I said to her, "You were the spiritual one. I thought you might be a nun." I really did. Another friend ended up becoming a priest, but yeah.
Yeah, I have found. I had mentioned. I know in the last. I think I'd mentioned to you in the last episode that we got cut short on. I, for almost 3.5 years, had been offering at these shows. I've been a traveling psychic medium for 4.5 years.
Travel to Nashville.
I know I normally do in the Midwest. We haven't gotten down as far as Nashville, but one day I was actually there last spring, and we'll be back again probably this coming spring. I started to do a psychic ability analysis, so I have a way to conduct an analysis.
That's so cool. You want to do it to me, or is it long and drawn out, or is it something?
No, it's not. It's not long, but you already know that you have.
Yeah, I didn't know if you could find out some I didn't know I had or something. But
it is possible. But I have a series of questions, and I talk with my guides and things of that nature. But one of them is, what's their religious background? Because I have found this consistency. That when people have strong spiritual, devout folks within their lives.
I was devout Catholic too, but differently, a little bit in my own way. I had a saint that I was just like my saint. He was my saint.
But the thing is,
he was my saint.
Your family probably was a devout.
Not really.
Somewhere
they
along the
put me in
lines.
Catholic school. Mom was a Catholic school teacher, but they didn't do anything at home religious. They never prayed at meals or anything, you know.
There's the Catholic teacher might have been the connection.
There's stuff in there though. Like, it just gets in there, you know. You don't know how.
I've watched so many folks that have had, whether it's their families, and it doesn't have to be the whole family. It can be one relative. It can be, you know, like my uncle was a priest, you know, my great grandmother went to church every day. Like there was these like seeds of stories.
They all were, but they didn't talk about it. They all were, but they didn't talk about it. My grandfather, my mom's father, was especially devout, but he never talked about his devotion.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Weird.
So that's usually a sign as well. So, you know, we all have these, you know, the ability. I do think there's a lot of reason why people don't use them, but I'll tell you this too, because I think a lot of people, and I don't know how you feel about this. I've had people tell me like, oh, it's so cool. Oh my God, your gifts are so awesome. I wish could be like you. And I'm like, I don't know if you understand what you're asking.
Yeah, anyone can do it. It's just you have to go through a lot.
Well, I also don't,
you know, yourself.
I also don't know that folks totally understand what it means to have such intense gifts, right? You know, this means that I could walk into a room and completely be bowled over. And
we can't have normal lives.
And unhealthy for days because of the energetic in the space, right? I have had more relationships in my life destroyed before I stepped into recovery because I could tell what people were thinking and I thought it was my place to repeat it back to them.
Yeah, but you didn't know. You found out.
No. Yeah.
We all have to find that out too, when to say what we need to know or what we know and when not to say what we know, you know.
Oh,
it's kind of a hard thing to figure out, isn't it? For a while. Sometimes it just comes out. Right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're drinking, it does, you know. But if you're not drinking, even now, you've seen it, it'll just kind of, sometimes you can't help it. No, we just can't have normal lives when we, for me anyway, not everybody. I can't have, I feel like, what other people have as a normal life because I just don't fit in there anymore. I never really did. And like listeners and watchers, if you want to know what I mean by a normal life, I mean like someone who doesn't sit on the couch and play with tarot cards for 5 hours, maybe, and then watch astrology videos for a few hours while I'm waiting for phone calls for psychic readings that I'm giving for my profession. I mean, this is like I'm doing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's like but I mean, it's really hard to relate to everyday people who go to an office and they have to wear the right clothes and they have people above them who can fire them and they can watch out and lose their damn job and their livelihood in a heartbeat if they do one little thing wrong, you know. Or maybe they don't have that high stress job. Maybe they have like a, you know, like minimum wage job and then they work their freaking asses off for nothing and they get like no respect and, you know, but whatever lives people have, I can't relate to any of those until they're in my reading room. You know, and that barrier kind of goes away of me being a psychic reader and you being the high executive or whatever, you know, whatever you are. That is, you know, makes us different in the outside cultural world. When we go in the reading room or on the phone in that space, that spiritual space, everybody's the same. Everybody kind of gets in that same vibe and we're all the same. Our spirits are all the same and we all feel that way. You know, it's kind of how it should be, I think. Mm. But I can't. How do you live a normal life? How do we do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And I think it's important, as you said, to define what normal would be. You know, I've realized for me, I think when people say normal, I think a lot of times what people are referring to is the normalcy of masking.
Masking, yes, especially with the people above you, like
it doesn't
take your job away at any moment. That pressure,
above, below, you know, at church, at the grocery store, you know, people don't feel comfortable being who they are. Like I'm a weirdo, I'm strange, I'm unusual.
I am too.
I have no problem with all of that, but there's a lot of people that have a fear of being seen, of being judged, of being ridiculed, of being ostracized for being themselves.
And they have good reason for being that way, but it's no excuse.
Yeah. You know, I have found in recovery specifically, that communities that actually are more focused around recovery really, really embrace allowing and encouraging people to be exactly who they are.
Yeah.
And so I find that I'm surrounded with a lot more people, and my normal has now become being unmasked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Me too.
Yeah.
And it's weird to go back. That's the best way to put it. Masked and unmasked so far that I've heard. That's a really good way to put it. I don't remember what mask Lisa looks like or feels like. I should say feels like. I mean, I do it sometimes still, but I don't slip into it. I have to go look for it and put it on. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. It's like the most uncomfortable thing, bless her heart.
It's like trying to squeeze your whole body into a rubber band or something.
Yeah. My partner's mom has, she's definitely of another world. So, I mean, I can't undye my hair or anything of that nature, but I'm very kind and proper. Like, it's fine, not trying to please her, so to speak, but not trying to make her uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's not your point. Yeah. Of love-like existence. Yeah. Did she make you feel that way?
Yeah. Pardon?
Did she make you feel that way because you're different or?
Well, I know that his family have referred to me and questioned about me being a witch. And I know some of the comments that she's made when him and I first started dating. And so she doesn't make me feel that way, but I'm certainly not. I have nothing to prove, I don't need to. So I'm just kind and loving and, I'm myself, but I'm also.
But you sense this person wants you to prove yourself in some way is kind of what you're saying, right?
I sense that she doesn't have the desire to understand who I truly am.
Okay, yeah, and that's very frustrating. Yeah. There's a lot of people like that who don't want to know who they really are, and it's like it's prevalent. I mean, he's everywhere, especially in the dating world. I mean, everybody I've gone on a first date with is the exact same person. Is that you know what I mean? Like same person. Like they have this like cookie cutter person they become for the first date, and they all say the same thing and do the same thing.
I am so glad I don't have to date anymore. I am so glad. I've been in a relationship for just over 4 years, and he's amazing, and he's a wonderful partner. And I can't imagine. It was hard enough. Like when I first started dating and I was sober. I would have I'm sober and I'm a witch. Good luck on that regards, right? Sober, psychic, witch.
Over here sniffing Valerian.
Yeah. I mean, these guys would I won't drink around you is the biggest thing.
It's that's one of those first date things you'd have to hear. Okay.
I'm like, I said, it ain't about not drinking around me. I said, I don't want to date anybody that drinks. Yeah. So if you're going to tell me you drink, that's cool. That just means we don't date.
Yeah.
It's not about not drinking around me.
Yeah, it's a big deal. You will get tempted probably. If that's something that you're feeling, that you might get tempted or led down that road again. It happened to me. I've been through the booze on and off the train. But I finally had a spirit. My mother's father's spirit gave me this gift of not craving it anymore. Yeah, I think when they pass, they give us gifts if they want to. And that was the gift he gave me because one day I ran out of money. I couldn't buy any more wine. And when I did get money, a few weeks later, I bought wine and I just didn't like it. The craving was gone. The need to that taste, here it goes. I'd get hives and get red and like, oh, here it comes. That great feeling of being addicted to alcohol. But it was gone. It was just gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
Is that a miracle?
I have a feeling, Lisa, that there's a lot
I found
of
out the reason why. I mean, I want to talk about that on the podcast, but there is a reason he did that for me, I think. But
I find that a lot of us that have these gifts have a dance in the realm of addiction. Yes. Right? We're not certain how to use them. Yes. They become overwhelming. We don't know how to manage any of the excess emotions and feelings that we have.
We have no one
so we choose to using substance.
Yes. That's one of the reasons I started this podcast, is hoping I could meet people so I wouldn't sit on my couch and pretend to watch something on TV that I was not at all listening to and drinking. When I was younger, like when I first started working in the field, I didn't want to do that. I just sit on the couch and watch cartoons and drink beer all day. No, I want to do something, So I started reading. I'd always been doing stuff like that, cards and stuff, but I really put it into practice when I started working in the field. The recovery atmosphere has always been a really comfortable one for a lot of reasons, because they do focus on spirituality a lot. It's part of your life. If you want it to be, they don't make it all about God anymore. Like I think maybe in the 40s and 50s, 1940s and 50s is more, they made it very much about a particular kind of God. But now they're very open-minded about higher power, right? Any higher power can go. And it is very accepting atmosphere. I used to go to meetings. I went to meetings for like 3 years at one point. Man, I just loved it. I just loved going. I just felt great there.
There's a lot more options that are available, right? So you've got AA, you've got NA, become very prevalent. There's smart recovery. There is Dharma recovery. There's Wellbriety. And I now lead a witches recovery. That's what I'm
amazing now. Because that's a spirituality that is hard to find a group for, period. But to find a recovery group for that is amazing. That is a really great thing that you offer. Is that free? Can we put a link to that in this podcast description?
Yeah, absolutely. Our recovery circles are free. We run them every Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern and Friday at noon Eastern. They're available on Zoom. And we've continued to grow last year. So it's been a year that we've been doing them. I think it was like September 8th, I think was our first one last year. And we'd have one or two folks that showed up, and now we're up to our average sessions are 13 to 14, but we get 27.
Would you take like Al-Anon or AD, any Al-Anon patients? Would you allow Al-Anon people, or do you have a day for Al-Anon people or anything like that?
So the way that I describe recovery is your choice. It has nothing to do with the substance. So if you're trying to recover from, for example, a relationship that you have with an addict or an alcoholic, then you're welcome. If you're recovering from food addiction, you're welcome. If you're recovering from, obsessive compulsive disorder, you're welcome. Like, I don't choose
really cool.
why you step into the path of recovery.
And witchcraft is such a beautiful way to heal yourself. I mean, you use the things of the earth, the plants, the herbs, the rocks, and the witchcraft stuff is just awesome.
Oh yeah, it's
fun. It's beautiful.
It's been incredible. I feel blessed to be able to offer it. I'm so grateful for Spirit leading me in this direction.
I am so glad you told me about that. That is just a beautiful thing that you offer that I didn't even know existed. Thank you for telling all of us about that. Tell us what is do you have a website? Is it on your website?
Yeah, you can go to soberwitch.life and you'll see all of the resources that are available for witches in recovery. So I have a mobile app that's available that's created by Witch in Recovery for Witches in Recovery. We've got the Recovery Circle. I just started a couple of weeks ago a weekly live radio show.
Yeah.
So I have a live radio show.
Wow,
so soberwitch.life, and that'll give you everything that you need to step into the path of the recovering witch. Yeah.
I did not even know that about our listeners and watchers until we, for the second time, tried to record this. We did try to record this podcast a few days ago, and we got 3 minutes in and something got in my eye, and now we know why.
Yeah,
this is the podcast we were supposed to do with the pink
absolutely it was,
and talk about that because I really need to hear about that. Thank you, and I'll get there. And I'd also like to thank my sponsor, Everclear. Everclear is an advice app where you can get advice from psychics and empaths, so you can get the clarity you need to create the life you deserve. It's everclear.com, a website, and on the app stores, it is Everclear Advice. And I'm Lisa Russick on there as an advisor. And lastly, Sunshine. And where else can they find you? And I will ask you for some advice, but did I leave out anything where they can find you? Instagram or?
No, I think your best bet for anybody is just to visit soberwitch.life. You're going to find everything that you need there. And if you're ever on Facebook is my primary social. If you want to find me, Sober Witch Ski. You can always come find me there. Yeah.
Are you Polish?
Well, my birth given name, I am Polish, and I jokingly was going to take sober Mickwich, but then I said I sounded like a tasty little sandwich.
I could be a sober Mickwich if I stop drinking altogether.
Yeah,
Irish and
yes, you could then. So no, so it's Sunshine Witchski, and I find it very humorous, and I chuckle every time I say it.
You are Irish and Polish, and I am Irish and Polish, and so I actually could be in like part of your cult. Our cult.
I wouldn't call it a cult.
Were you raised Catholic though? Wait a minute, it'll get even crazier if you were raised Catholic.
13 years of Catholic schooling.
Oh yeah, we've got a lot of stuff we can work on here. For our sketches, yes. That's how you become psychic. You get raised Catholic and you rebel. Just kidding, listeners. Lastly, I would love to ask for some advice for our listeners. Man, so I'd love for you to give some advice to any listeners who listen to this and they go down the bottle, they go down some rabbit hole that probably isn't good for them, because it's so hard to handle the abilities when they first start. Sometimes, let's say that's some of the listeners are doing that. Maybe they're drinking too much or taking medications the wrong way, and they know they're doing it to close out whatever's happening to them psychically. That's exactly why they're doing it, let's say. And then they get addicted. And, there's a difference there. What is the difference? Where would you tell them to know what that difference is between being an addict and it's destroying your life and who you are, and it being an escape tool that you're not quite addicted yet and you can still kind of get back from it? You know what I'm saying? The question I'm asking.
Man, that's a
question. But it's one I had to ask myself a lot. I'm probably going to be real harsh in my explanation or advice around this. The moment you start questioning it, I was thinking that, yeah.
The moment it pops into your head. What if
someone else says it to you though first, and you haven't thought of it?
I don't think it matters then.
Doesn't matter then. Okay.
No, the moment, because if you aren't starting to question, if you don't have that seed planted at some point, because they could mention it, you could go, God, are they right? Like if that's what you say is, am I right? That right there, that moment that you start questioning it, you have just stepped onto the road to recovery. That means that you want to have a difference in your life. You want to change. You want something that's, different than and it could be a little tiny question, and it could be for a moment, and you could go back to start drinking again. But just know that the moment that seed has been planted, it has been planted because it is meant to blossom in your life. And at some point it will take root. Right. And at that particular point, when the roots are taken, it's going to require you to take the action to water it and to nurture it and to let it grow. Yeah. Right. Yes. It's so hard. I have lots of conversations. I've gotten into arguments with folks on this. When it comes to, people are like, it's not an addiction, it's just a habit. And I'm like, tell me what the real difference is between that, right?
Well, let them feel some withdrawals and see what they say after that.
That's exactly
it. So having withdrawals from something really changes your mind about what addiction is.
Lisa, I couldn't make it 90 days. That was my first try. I said, I'm just going to try 90 days without a drink. Yeah. I'd already done 40 days with Lent. Right? Good Catholic that I am. I'd done 40 days.
But I'm going to spirituality into that.
Yeah. I'm going to try to do 90 days without a drink, and I couldn't even make it 90 days.
No spirituality added, right? Yeah.
Nope. None in.
I'm so sorry you suffered that much, because you really must have tried to quit over and over is what I'm hearing.
I had a handful of times, but that last year I had 2 major relapses, and the rock bottom, but when I hit was pretty dark and dirty. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So
thank you for being here to tell us about it, and for making this a safe place for people like us to go to talk about these kinds of things, because it's really hard to talk about to anybody. And especially if we have our spirituality and it's not really AA friendly, not unfriendly about it, but it's something you can't really go in depth with people, most of them who go to NAA and stuff like that. And to have a space where people who have a spiritualist belief system and especially witchcraft system of belief, this is a wonderful thing that you offer people. And thank you so much for doing it. I'm serious. Thank you. That's great advice.
I feel privileged.
You're welcome back anytime. Listeners and watchers, don't you love Sunshine? She's just wonderful. We keep you forever. Come back anytime. And check out the description, guys, and go check out her group stuff and her website. Check everything out. Thank you so much again.
Thanks,
and
Lisa.
I do have to ask you, do you love the listeners and the watchers?
I absolutely love all the listeners and the watchers so much, and look forward to chatting with them whenever they reach out.
They will. Thank you so much, Sunshine. I love you, listeners.
Thanks, Lisa.
I love you, watchers. And that was a big explosion of a loud kiss, and somebody heard it, or my microphone cut it off. I'm not sure. We'll find out in the mix. Woo. Bye, Sunshine. Have a great time. And listeners and watchers, have a great time wherever may you be. Peace out. Bye.